Welcome to Scarves and Spikes.
Hello to all the Atlanta United fans. My name is Jurgen Damm, and you are watching Scarves and Spike, an Atlanta United podcast.
Scarves and Spikes, Sydney, Henry, Tommy with you after a busy Thanksgiving, gentlemen, for us. How's it going?
I slept a lot, so there was nothing busy about my Thanksgiving.
Henry, how was yours?
It was good. So Thanksgiving was actually, also my mom's birthday. So I got to spend it with her and fortunately, make that a special day for her.
Belated Feliz Cumpleaños to your mom.
You certainly tried. Yeah.
Happy birthday to your mother. Belated.
I'll let her
know. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Appreciate having you along for the ride. ScarvesandSpikes.com, of course, so you can find all our written contact related to Atlanta United. Facebook.com/ScarvesandSpikes, X, Blue Sky, Threads, find us at Scarves and Spikes, Instagram, the whole 9 yards, Patreon.com/Scarves and Spikes. We are also on Etsy. We have a store. Find the link at ScarvesandSpikes.com. Get all your Scarves and Spikes gear, merch, as it were, stuff. It is getting winter, so get a hoodie, get a hat, get a mug for your hot beverage of choice, things like that. So ScarvesandSpikes.com is where you can find all that stuff. All those links, all those pathways to stay connected to us. If you're watching on Instagram, please like, please subscribe. It helps us out as we try to give you the best Atlanta United coverage on the internet. So, guys, we are kind of in a little bit of a lull. Not much going on, to be honest with you. Of course, MLS Cup is happening on Saturday. Red Bulls versus LA Galaxy in Carson, California. So that's going on, but Atlanta United related, not much going on. So
behind the scenes, I'm sure there's a lot.
Behind the scenes, sure, there's a lot going on. But we have some big dates coming up for MLS for roster purposes. The expansion draft is happening next Wednesday. Teams will announce their list of exposed and protected players on Tuesday the 9th, by Tuesday the 9th. So we're going to kind of talk about who Atlanta United could protect, could expose in the MLS Expansion Draft, who could be picked by San Diego FC, because, of course, Henry, as he said on X earlier, protection is important, which it certainly is. Although I think you were kind of making a joke about something else.
About what?
That is maybe a little...
About what, Sydney?
Maybe a little Scarves and Spikes after dark territory there, so we won't get too deep into that. But like I said, guys, and jump in, with any of your thoughts. We're just kind of in a little lull, the calm before the storm, if you will, before they start really going on for Atlanta United. I think maybe later on this week, next week will be a huge inflection point as far as who the coach will be, who the general manager / technical director will be, who will be some of the players coming in, going out. I did mention free agency before we started the show. Just found out that Raul Rui Diaz will not be returning to Seattle, so maybe that's the player Atlanta United brings in. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, when the time comes. But yeah, just kind of that calm before the storm, Tommy, before we really get going.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much, right? We've been talking about it since basically September, of the huge laundry list that was going to have to be made, right? Like, you have everything, right? A manager, the general manager. You have DP players, U22 spots that have opened up, right? Which who knows if they end up doing that or not. But we've already seen some roster decisions, right? There's still some negotiations going on. There's just a lot, right? And I feel like it's all gonna start happening very fast because it's December 4th, right? We are 20 days away from Christmas Eve. Between Christmas Eve and New Year's, like, that time flies.
By the way,
And
have you
then-
guys done your Christmas shopping? Just real quick.
I haven't bought Henry anything yet. I'm working on it.
Henry shaking his
there.
head no as well.
I'll get Henry something nice. But like, once you're there, right? Like, after the New Year, they're starting to report, right? And
No.
that's a little scary because you have a new manager, right? Who's gonna want to put his stamp on this team. But new manager, there's not a full team here, right? You've got you have pieces of a plan, right? You've got parts, right? But you don't have all of it, and that's something that they need to do quickly, because I think before, like, you'd always expect that one DP player to come in super late, right? We're on green card watch, right?
Yeah.
Are they going to get their card? When are they going to be here for the opener? But it's a little bit different this time because it's not Gonzalo Pineda, right, running this thing, right? So, like, even all these players that are sticking around, this is going to be new to them too. Whoever comes in, their plan, like what they want to do for their preseason. Is it travel? Is it stay in the United States? What is it, right? But you want to, when you do a team building, when it's a completely new team, this is one of the most important times, right? Is to get to know your manager, get to know what he wants to do. And especially if he's like a big players guy, like, players manager, right? It's just that bonding, right? And I think that's what helps start those teams fast, right? And sometimes if it takes a little bit longer, which it might, like, there's just a lot going against the new regime here because it's a lot of new guys. Can you get them in fast enough? Can you put your imprint on this team fast enough? And, you really just have January and February to get it going. I mean, you'll start seeing, these friendlies in like early February, like right around then. So that really only gives you like 30 days ish to really get it together. So I'm not worried yet, right? I think I think they've got it down to a few people, right? And Garth kind of led to that, and and we've talked about it a little bit last week on what they were doing. But the other thing I just want to make sure that everyone knows is that this isn't old Atlanta United. Like, it seems like they keep things closer to their chest, right? Like, we would see rumors coming up in like October on who was coming in for the next season, right? We haven't really seen many rumors at all on players. And I think that's just it's I don't think it's anything to worry about. And you guys jump in if you feel differently. But I don't think that this is like something to worry about. I just think that this front office keeps things tight. And that's usually a good thing.
Yeah, you don't have a technical director or a head coach, and look, Garth said,
well, you do. You have Garth.
Yeah, Garth said that, but at the same time, maybe you're waiting for that to happen. And Henry, I didn't mean to jump in on you, but maybe you're kind of waiting for that to happen to say, okay, who do we really want to target? You of course have your analytics. You of course have your scouting. Maybe there's some changes there. Garth kind of hinted that we're looking at maybe some changes to scouting. So maybe that's in the offing as well. But yeah, maybe you're kind of waiting for that to be finalized, whether it's Henderson or in Curtin or somebody else or two other people. Maybe you're waiting for the pieces of that puzzle to be falling in before you really go all out as to who you want to bring in. That being said, free agency starts next week. The trade window, you have a trade window on Monday. So you're not fully sitting on your haunches waiting for things to happen. But yeah, I mean, you're not going to get fully into it until you hire that head coach and technical director. That being said, not really anything to worry about at this time. You can make moves, but you can't really fully implement the vision of what you want Atlanta United to be like unless you hire those two individuals. So I think that's the big thing that you're looking for.
What about Miguel Amarone?
So
sorry, I guess I should introduce this since I was the one that put it on Twitter. But Yeah, I think an hour ago, more or less, I posed a question to Atlanta United fans because I don't remember who was saying it, but I think it was in a Discord chat somewhere. Like, oh my
Trey
gosh, like,
Patreon.
Almiron's on his way out at Newcastle or whatever, and it's like, in the summer window, we did hear that potentially Charlotte was interested in bringing Almiron back, and that sparked a lot of uproar in the Atlanta United community.
Atlanta United fans would
What
have
the heck,
just,
dude?
yeah.
And so now the thing is, well, maybe he could be on the way out. And I asked on Twitter, like, would you like him back? And I said specifically on a DP deal, because I really don't think you could bring him back on a non-DP deal. But assuming you do, assuming you have to use a DP spot, would you bring him back? And I've gotten some mixed responses. Some are like, no way. Some are like, yes, we could totally use him. So my question to y'all, and I have my opinion on this, but I'll let y'all share first. What do you guys think? Would you take Miguel Almiron, 30-year-old Miguel Almiron, on a DP deal in 2024 or 2025? It would be.
Tom, you go ahead. I'll tell you with my thoughts after.
I feel like this is a setup, right? I think it's easy. Like, you just say, yeah, sure, absolutely. Like, you'd want him back, and for the fan base, like, to reinvigorate them, I think, yeah. But a lot of players that come back on a second run, historically, in other sports that come back, it doesn't always work out well. I think they're aiming. I mean, I don't know. I think they're maybe looking for someone a little bit younger than that, right? I think in between that, a little younger than them. I mean, obviously he has the experience, right? I mean, I haven't watched a ton of Almiron. I mean, he hasn't played a ton as well, right, lately. But, when he first came over there, he was definitely Miguel Almiron, right? Like, exciting. But I don't know. I don't know about bringing him back into this team. Is it? Now, just saying, because this was an issue before, everyone that, his agent and him did not leave under fantastic terms, right?
Yeah.
It was not a good situation, right? He didn't get transferred until the last minute. They were holding on. I think there was even one day where Pity and Almiron were at practice together, right? Which is a little bit awkward because, Pity was the replacement. But all those people are gone, right? So if they did want to do it, obviously now is the time, right? Now is the time to do it because all those people that upset Miggy and the agent are all no longer here. So you should be able to negotiate. Now, if he wants to come back, I mean, and I know you said DP. It'd be great if he didn't come back as a DP, but I don't think that's realistic at all, right?
Yeah, no.
Probably not. So real quick before you give your opinion, Sydney, I did want to lay out some of Miggy's numbers this season. 7 appearances, 0 goal contributions. Not great.
Woo!
Let's look at last season's numbers. Last season, 45 appearances across all comps, 5 goals, 3 assists. Again, not fantastic.
Right.
Not really the return that you're looking for. And yes, Europe is a different challenge, and it's different. But what do you think, Sydney? Could he potentially come back to MLS and have the impact he had before, or something close to that?
You have to be careful when we're talking about. We went through this thing that was Joseph, I think, last week or a couple of weeks ago. You have to be careful with these sentimental sightings, right? It's good for the feels, it's good for the vibes and all that, but is it the best move for the team? We mentioned Miggy's 30 years old, right? And Garth has flat out said, we're looking for prime age players that want to be here for a while. That being said, that's not to say that Miggy won't retire. Actually, I don't know if he'd retire in Atlanta, to be honest with you. If we were to come to Atlanta, he may go back to Paraguay, back home, and finish his career there or in Argentina, somewhere in South America. So that's one or two big reasons why I don't think it would make sense to bring him in. The other reason is, where do you play him, right? I mean, you have Miranchuk at the number 10. You have Saba at one of the wings. You have presumably Silva or whoever they bring in at the other wing. So do you really want to bring Almiron in as a sentimental bench player or something like that? I think we have to be just very careful about who we want and why we want them. I would love to see Miguel Almiron come back. I would love to see Joseph Martinez come back. Sure. That being said, is it the best move for the team? And at this point in time, given this age, given where he is at his career, I think that ship has sailed. Now, if that's not to say he won't land in somewhere else in MLS. And if it would have happened in the previous transfer window, Atlanta United fans would have lost it and would have want to run Garth Lagaway and Carlos Bocanegra out of town. I mean, Carlos is already gone, but you guys know what I'm saying. We just have to be careful. Like, don't this is a new Atlanta United, as Tommy you said, a few minutes ago, and based on that, you have to be very careful about who you bring in, why you bring them in, and again, is this the best move for the team right now? And as much as I appreciated what Miguel Almiron did during his time in MLS, I don't think this will be the right move for Atlanta United.
So let me be kind of devil's advocate here, because you did mention that, where would they play him? I think if you're banking on him being a DP player, like you're expecting him probably to be the starter, and so he would be the guy that you bring in.
No.
The way I would see it, if it were to happen, which I don't think it's going to happen, and I'll give my reasoning in a sec. Mostly lines up with what y'all said, but you play Almiron on the right wing, and you play Saba on the left, then they'd both be inverted, and really, I think you're fine with that. Silva, if he has a comeback season, then maybe he makes the 11 again, but I don't know. I guess that depends on him. But as for what I believe in the Miggy scenario, I don't think I see it happening for the reasons y'all said and more. I mean, his numbers aren't great.
Yeah,
he's I know Europe. The whole Europe versus MLS performance thing, but I just don't think he's in the right form right now, and he's definitely not going to, turn back the years to, 2017, 2018, 7 years ago. And, I just don't see it. And I don't think there's a way to get him under a DP deal. And if you have 3 very precious DP spots, you've got to use them wisely to make the most out of this offseason, which is probably the biggest in a while. I know we say that like every offseason for like the past 3 or 4 off seasons, but this really is the biggest offseason in a while that this club has had.
Probably ever.
You're starting
since the initial
fresh,
basically,
with a new coach, a new technical director, and it's kind of a change of philosophy you're going through. And you've cleaned the roster up to a point where you can make some serious changes. And I just don't think, when Garth has laid out this model of, prime age players, 24 to 29 or whatever the age range is, I don't think you break that even with Miguel Almiron. And I think you can definitely get, he said, you want players that are here for the long haul, not just for like a couple of years, you want players that'll be kind of the next 3, 4, 5 years of this club. And for that, you want players that are a little bit younger, frankly, and that, are in that age category that Garth has targeted. So I really don't see Miggy coming back, unfortunately. And like you said, I'm thankful for everything he did for the club, and he'll always be a legend, but it's time to move forward, man. It's time to move on.
Brian saying in the chat, MLS has changed his Almiron left. He may not be as dominant as he was due to his age, due to how the league has advanced. And I 100% agree with what Brian's saying. Let bygones be bygones. Again, love Miggy, love what he did in MLS and Atlanta United, but turn the page and like you said, Henry, move forward.
Same talk with Joseph, right? We had this conversation about Joseph Martinez. Like, I mean, we saw what he did. I mean, he pretty much helped. I mean, he was the one that got Montreal into to the playing game, right? Like he did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Short period of time here, like you, with the resources that you have, I mean, you could bring him in, I guess, but why, right? It just puts the other. I mean, we won't go through it all again, but like it just puts everyone in a weird situation, right? Like he wouldn't be the starter. Like if you're really
No.
building new and you have 2 DP spots, you're not bringing Joseph Martinez in to be a starter, right? Like bringing Elmerone and Joseph back here, like which is what people do in FIFA, or I'm sorry,
Yeah,
EAFC, right? Like you're
Yeah,
you're
sure you
bored
get it
one
right.
night, you load up Atlanta United and you look at this, like especially if you load it up right now and you look at the roster, there's like, oh, this team sucks. I gotta go fix it. All right, who does Tito play for? How do I go transfer him in?
Bring Gressel back.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring Grussel back. Jurgen Damm, is he even in EAFC at this point? Do I have to do a create a player for him and put speed 99? Like
Sign
those are
LVP from River.
yeah, like I mean, you have to figure it all out.
Yeah.
But when you do these things, and you see teams do this in the past, it very rarely works because when they do come back, they've already been at other places. They've aged a lot, and that's not what they're looking for, right? This is looking for consistency, right? And for a long time, we were going with very young players. Boca was trying to go the young path. We're changing things up a little bit. We're getting younger, right? And they'll get experience, and we'll sell them and all this. That's not it here, and they're not going to try and do. And I don't want to say the Miami way, right? Because they're a little bit different. But you're not looking for age stars, right? You're going to get some role players, right? You're still going to go. There's still going to be players, right? That you're going to get like that. They're going to be like a Dax, right? That
Rui
comes
Diaz?
in, that knows MLS. That's going to be coming in here, maybe. I mean, but you can get these players that come in that help out, right? That know MLS, because I think that's important to every team. We said that for a long time. Like they need one. They need a Ozzy Alonso type player, right, to be able to come in here. You're going to get a couple of those guys, but those guys are going to be on much smaller contracts, right?
Yeah.
Those are going to be role players. And going back, I forget how many max time players that we have now, but I mean, they said the way that we're set up here is that we could have, the most, like the maximum that we can have here, because we banked all this money on transfers. And then obviously how we delegated last year with, the less DP spots and all that. I mean, you've been able to do all these little things to gain as much money as you can for this off season. So they're going to spend, right? I don't think that's a worry at all. They're going to spend a ton of money. I think they're going to maximize this roster. Now, whether it's all in one window, I don't see them doing that. I mean, we know Garth's record in the summer, right? But I don't think Garth is going to, I say screw the team over, but he's not going to just go, with the bank account and spend it all on January 1st, right? Or whatever, in December. He's going to bank some of that money for the summer to figure out what this team needs and how to make it better. So I do hope they fill the DP spots up for sure. But like, even if you can hold, like one of these TAM players and be able to hold off on that to be able to bring in still somebody of significance in the summer, I think that would be perfect. But this team has to get out to a fast start next season, right? It's not just for obviously, getting in the standings, but I think it's to keep this moving along with the fan base, right? You had the fan base at like an ultimate low right before decision day, right? We were here. Just get the season over with. We're done. Like, can we please just lose 3-0 so we could just end the day and we could start talking about the replacement manager and technical director and all of that, and we move on. And then it was like, oh damn, we won and everything else went our way.
Yeah.
Oh, we just beat Montreal. Oh, and now we're going into a 3-game series against and actually taking them to 3. And now we're going to Orlando. Like, it hasn't ended, right?
Right.
But the good thing out of all this, right? I mean, I know we cost our chance at a great super draft pick, right? I'm sad that we don't have a top pick in it. But I was rolling my eyes if you're on audio.
We'll survive.
Yeah.
It's not the NFL.
Right. But the most important thing that you did through all of this is you rejuvenated the fan base by 1,000. Okay? the people that are on social media that you see a lot that are talking about Atlanta United, that have been shit talking them for years, all of a sudden you see them, right? They're getting their hopes back up. I mean, you see how we see how the chat, we see the our Discord, what they have. Anywhere you go, all of a sudden, like, it's like, we believe, right?
Blue
We're
skies.
starting to believe this. And you saw you saw the people that went to Orlando, right? Like, that was a ton of people, right? I saw the video of Soccer Down Here interviewing all the fans that were down there. You have to keep this going, right? And it's hard because a lot of people wanted Rob, right? People wanted Rob, and that kind of brought it down a little bit. That brought the vibes down a little bit, I think, a week and a half ago, because everyone loves Rob and they love that what he was able to do, right? And that was to get them to beat Miami in 3, right? And to do all of this. So now it's down a little bit, and you've seen people go, Garth better know what he's doing, right? He just got rid of a great guy, a great manager, obviously a guy that's great at selling things, because you could look at Henry's shirt, right? Henry bought into it as well. So everyone bought into this. And now you're stopping the entire thing and saying, we appreciate you, but we're still going a different way. So now the fan base is a little like, okay, who is it? And then what makes it even worse is it's not officially a rumor, but you're bringing in an asshole to the city of Atlanta, and Jim Curtin, if you're listening, you know I can call you an asshole. I'm sorry, I could say asshole 3 times. Oh, that's my third. Sorry. You got a guy in here that a lot of the, let's face it, 95% of the fan base hate. Right. I think some people respect him for what he was able to do. Right. I mean, what he was able to do with the team. But he's not a very likable guy. So you just went and got the most likable guy in Atlanta United, and you could possibly be bringing on a guy that nobody can handle. Right. Nobody could stand. He better start winning.
Yeah.
Because 2 weeks in, if we're 0-2, you got rid of Rob. You brought in the guy that looks like Ross from Friends, or whatever one from Friends, and you're losing. So Garth's got to get it right?
Yeah.
And especially if it's Jim, like, the fans aren't going to be as forgiving to a slow start, and that's just the way it is. That's why you don't burn bridges, Jim. You're muted, Henry.
Gosh darn it! It happened to me. Anyways, I was just saying, yeah. His seat's going to warm up real quick if he doesn't get off to a quick start. Assuming it's him again. All that we know is that they're down to the finalists, and the decision, or at least according to last week's press conference, they were hoping to make it by this week. Again, we don't know who the finalists are. We don't know if Jim Curtin is a finalist. We don't know what the other names are. We just know that they were down to the finalists, that Jim Curtin was long rumored to be in Atlanta United's interests, but we don't know that yet. And again, like you said, Tommy, the fans are not going to be very patient with him if things don't start going well from the jump,
right?
Because of what you said, because of the things that he said, and if he does end up being the next manager, the next head coach, then at that point, he's got to kind of start the Jim Curtin rehabilitation program over here in Atlanta. Start going to get his Georgia driver's license.
Make amends.
And you know what? If things go well, if, like I said before, if he comes in and starts, Atlanta United's immediately one of the more competitive teams in the league, and is, near the top of the table, and is making deep runs in the playoffs and whatever, deep runs in Leagues Cup, getting past the group stage, that's thing number one. But yeah, if he starts doing that, then I think you can kind of start to forgive the guy. You kind of like, okay, yeah, I don't mind. With the trophies, I think that people will start forgetting a little bit about that. But yeah, if it is him, like, Garth knows what he's doing. He made RSL successful at the point that he was there. He made Seattle a successful team for a period of several years. I just think that he knows how to make teams successful, and he's here now. I think we're going to start to see the fruits of that this offseason, since he now has much more influence now than he has ever had in his time with Atlanta United.
Yeah, and again, we're going to start hearing stuff sooner rather than later. Things are going to start heating up relatively soon, and whoever it is deserves a chance, regardless of how you feel about him.
Yeah, I mean, Colonel says that he burned these bridges. It's nobody's not blaming him at this point, right? Like, we know, and he knows what he did, right? But I do got to respect him though, because Atlanta United did come calling,
Yep.
before he got fired, right? They reached out to him and said, "Would you want to come here?" And he said no. And like I've heard people spin it saying he doesn't want to come to Atlanta United. I take it, at least, and I don't know if there was a quote on why he said no, but at least to me, what I take it is that he started something and he wanted to finish it there, right? I mean, he was asking for more money. He's been asking for more money. He's been asking for more resources, right? He's been able to get them so far and consistently into the playoffs. Obviously not this year, but consistently there, and being able to develop good young players, right? He's been able to do all of that with a limited budget here. So now you got to hope is that he can come in here and you give him a budget, you give him these resources. He continues to, help the young players develop, right? Because that is important here, right? We always have one or two really good young players that are able to make a difference here. And that's obviously huge for this team, because you want to spend as much money as you can. But if you can get one or two young guys to be consistent in the lineup, that's a deal breaker. He had to play young players a lot, right? He had to play them a lot because, the lack of resources there.
Right.
I'm excited. I mean, I don't know if it's him or not, right? We haven't really, I mean, it's hard for us to talk about this, right? Because there haven't been a lot of rumors. We've been hearing Henderson. I mean, we heard Vieira. Obviously, that's gone.
Yeah.
They haven't said anything about Curtin. Haven't given us an update from Curtin
Right.
after he said no. But now we know that we courted him when he was dating, and now he's on Tinder, and now we're going, "What's up, girl? Let's have a conversation." And the question is, did he swipe right? Is it swipe right? Is that what?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
Swipe right.
You're engaged now. You shouldn't be. You should not be the first one to answer that.
Sydney, the correct answer is I don't
the only
know.
single guy answer
I have
first
not
here.
been on these apps.
Is I don't know.
I've not been on these apps in a while. I don't know. Disclaimer.
I've never been on them. I'm too old to. I've been with Tina way too long to know what they are. But you were like,
That's the
swipe right.
correct
Yes.
answer,
Another
Sydney.
discussion.
Come on. But anyway, going back to the Jim Curtin thing, like, look, the first contact with him, the invitation to interview, that was close to when Atlanta fired Gonzalo Pineda. That's like beginning of June. By that point, Jim Curtin only knew that he was the coach of the Philadelphia Union. He had no idea he was on the outs, because from what I heard, he went into a meeting that day and he was told, "You're out." That's kind of what happened from what I was told. So it was a surprise to him. He had no idea. So if he didn't know that day or close to that day, there was no way he was going to know in June, "Oh yeah, you're going to be fired at the end of the season." Like, So I think back then, kind of like what Tommy was saying, in June, it's a matter of respect. You're the coach of this team, right? And he's a Philly guy too. He's from Philly, and the whole story was a Philly guy managing Philly, and he has that connection to the club. So if he could have stayed there, he was probably going to stay there. But he's fired. He's out there. He's out of there now, and there's this opening here. I think there's a genuine chance that he would be interested. It's a league that he knows. It's a team that can give him the resources he so desperately wanted. So and a pretty darn good youth academy too. There's some good prospects coming out of Atlanta United's youth academy. So he's got some stuff to work with there, and he's known to work with the youth. So yeah, I think it should be a very attractive opportunity for him, and I think it's probably the most attractive one on the table at this point.
So we'll definitely discuss this a whole lot more, I'm sure. I don't think the search will take much longer.
I
If it
want it
does,
now.
I hope not. Yeah, I know. The fans got want it happen now, so we can kind of, I guess, move forward, and whoever it is can put his imprint on Atlanta United, and then bring in the technical director and all that. That being said, kind of shorter term is this expansion draft, and you briefly mentioned it, and I think you guys did your list of who Atlanta United will or should protect um, ahead of
Were
the
you supposed to
draft.
do lists?
Tommy didn't do
He
his.
didn't do his homework. Okay, Tommy.
I haven't made that.
Tommy's doing detention.
Bragazan.
Tommy, listen, look. Okay, so we're gonna explain the rules of the expansion draft to give you time to come up with a list. So you better start writing now. Okay.
I feel
I know the
very
rules of the draft.
confident that
It's not for you. It's for
Guzan
the
will be
audience.
protected. All right,
Writing your list.
all right. So I'll give you all the Cliff Notes version. Every club has to protect at least or up to 12 players, or not up to 12 players. They have to protect 12 players. Players whose contract ends in 2024 is still considered part of the roster for all intents and purposes. Generation Adidas players in / 21 to 24 on the roster, homegrowns 25 years and younger, the year of the draft are automatically protected. Atlanta do not need to protect those players. DPs are not automatically protected. Those who have no trade contracts must be protected. We don't know who that is for Atlanta United.
Probably no.
We don't really know who that is for any MLS player, as it were. So that's just more procedure more than anything. Retired players, need to go into that. I don't think they're protecting any retired players. Clubs with four more international players must protect at least 3 international players, excluding any automatically protected players. And once you have a player picked from your roster, you're done. You will not have any more players picked from your roster. With that said, I kind of sketched out my list, and you guys let me know.
Yours.
You're gonna copy mine, okay?
Can I say something real quick? Because I'll just say, because there was a comment earlier, like right when we started, about Brooks Lennon. Do you protect him? And I think we've answered this before, but just before we get into it, one of the things that you don't want to do in an expansion draft, no matter what, in whatever sport, is you don't want to lose assets. And no matter what you say about Brooks Lennon, whether he's part of this team or not, there's value for Brooks Lennon across this league, right? You don't just give this guy away for free, because, I mean, whether you want to move on from him and get some GAM, TAM, whatever you want, or, you transfer him outside this league and get a transfer fee, there's value for him. So one of the things that you don't want to do, which is the same reason why we held on to Santiago Sosa, was because there's value, right? It's easy just to say, no, we're not renewing the contract and move on from it, but there's value there. So that's why they picked up Sosa. Obviously there's already been rumors of them picking up his contract, but it's the same thing with Brooks Lennon. You want to hold on to him, even if you have no, and I'm not saying that's the case at all, but just in case there is, a thought of moving on from him, you just you hold on to him, and then you move on with him after the expansion draft. Sorry, I just wanted to get that out.
So he was on my list. And I feel like the injuries.
How did I say? Omar said, did you just call Brooks an asshat? I don't.
You misheard asset.
Asset. ASSET.
No. He's an. I was like, I think I was talking good about him. I wasn't calling him an
Breaking news.
Asset.
Definitely not.
Tommy calls Brooks an asset.
I'm sorry, Brooks, if you're listening. Get better. Hope that shoulder's better.
Please get better.
Asshat.
All right. All right. So here we go. Here's my list, and a lot of this is pretty cut and dry. Brad Guzan, you're protecting, of course. Your DPs, or DP lights, as it were. Miranchuk Sleesh, you're protecting. Cohen, you're protecting. Ronald Hernandez, even though he is out of contract, the club is still negotiating. They must protect him because, again, remember, he's still considered part of the roster. So Hernandez, Pedro Amador, you certainly protect. Gregerson, you protect. Lennon, Williams, Sosa, Saba, and I put Muyimba because, again, Tommy, kind of like what you were saying, you don't want to lose, and this is tough because he's been in difficult form for much of 2024. You don't want to lose a potential asset. I feel like if you want to move him, maybe in MLS or maybe to Europe, a second division team in Europe, maybe back to France. You want to have the opportunity. You don't want to lose a player for nothing. If he gets drafted, if you were to get drafted, you'd be getting $50,000 in GAM, which isn't nothing, but is not nearly as much as you'd be getting if you were to transfer him. And that's not to say Muyimba would get a massive transfer fee as a wearer, but I would protect him just so you have cover, just in case San Diego says, "Hey, we do want him. We would like to bring him in to see what he can do, maybe as a change of scenery player." Just because, by the way, just because someone's on the list doesn't mean they're being picked. So if there's a much better option, much more attractive option on the list for Atlanta United, they're definitely going off the board. So that's my list. What do you guys think?
5 players they get to choose, right?
Yes, San Diego. I forgot to mention that San Diego has their choice of 5 players, and each team MLS can have a max of 1 player picked.
Okay. There's a lot of Ronald Hernandez talk here in the chat.
Yeah.
I understand about that, right? Because I think we've seen a couple different Ronald Hernandezes throughout the season, right? And the question is a lot of that have to do with just the quality of the team here, right? I think that he came in during some real important times at the, specifically in the playoffs when you needed somebody and put in some real good time there, right? There was other times where he had to come in as a center back and we knew how that went, right? Couldn't jump high enough. The ball went over his head and the ball went in the net.
Yeah.
I think, and someone brought up the Indy 11 game. Yeah, I drank a lot during that game, so I don't really remember a lot because it felt like it was so long and it was so boring. But yeah, I mean, I think everyone struggled in those Open Cup games, even though somehow we got wins out of a lot of them. The 11 one, obviously, we didn't, but depending on what his cost is, with this new contract is obviously something that's important to me here on there. But you're going to need some depth here no matter what, because you're not going to have Brooks Lennon for at least, I mean, optimistically, maybe he comes back in April. Maybe. Yeah. From there.
Let me just
there's
say
Cohen
this,
talking here, though, too.
Yeah. Let me just say this real quick on Hernandez. Remember, again, he's out of contract. So that's no guarantee that Atlanta United will bring him back. I mean, they could. Doesn't mean that they will.
Yeah.
Again, this is more of an admin move more than anything, because maybe if he does get drafted, and maybe leave it exposed. If he does get drafted, you get at least $50,000 in GAM for him. Maybe you trade his rights to San Diego on Monday when the half-day trade window opens, trade his negotiated rights to San Diego. That's another option. So I'm just throwing it out there. It's not written in stone that Atlanta United will do this, but I'm just putting it out there. Sorry.
That's fair.
Henry?
Is it my turn to share my list with the class? Okay.
Go ahead.
I might copy yours.
It's
Mine
pretty
isn't
much
good
the
enough.
same. Except for a few minor changes. I didn't have Ronald Hernandez protected, honestly.
Okay.
Because he is out of contract, and you don't know if he is going to, end up signing a new contract with the team. And at that point, honestly, I would rather just protect the players that you're counting on, that are on your, are under contract. Now, if and again, this to me completely depends on how those negotiations are going with him. Yeah. Like, if you know that the negotiations are going positively, then protect him, obviously.
Yeah.
Use him. But if you know that things are hard and it's like, oh, he's asking for too much money, or, he kind of wants out of the club or something, I don't know. Like, if you know that things aren't going the right way, in those negotiations, then maybe leave him unprotected because you could use that to protect someone else. So my full list of protected: Alexei Miranchuk, Pedro Amador, Sabo Lobjanice, Brad Guzan, Bartosz Slish, Derek Williams, Stian Gregerson, Sean De Silva, Tristan Miyumba, Edwin Mascara, Josh Cohen, and Brooks Lennon. Now for me, it's if you do decide to protect Hernandez, the person I would leave exposed would probably be Muyumba.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think you could do better in the midfield department, and keep in mind, like you said, just because you leave someone unprotected doesn't mean that they're going to get chosen.
Right.
San Diego has 5 picks from among 29 teams in the league.
Yeah.
Like they've got plenty of other choices potentially to make those picks. Maybe Muyumba isn't on there. Maybe the other guys that we left off aren't in that list. One thing I did want to touch on, and it's a couple of guys that both you and I left off of our lists. It's Luis Abram and Jamal Tiare. I think we agree on the reasoning.
Mascara. I haven't heard of Mascara. Keep a Mascara one there for a while.
Did you say to keep Mascara?
I did not. I left him exposed.
Okay, I'm protecting him personally. I think he's still young and he still has he has his moments. Of course, he lacks consistency, and that's the one thing going against him. But I think he could still be serviceable as a backup on the roster next season. Of course, if you think you could do better and you want to free up that U22 spot, absolutely leave him exposed. See if someone takes him. My thing is, when we talked to Garth, it looked like the U22s weren't going to be a huge focus this offseason. And so if they're not going to be that important, if they're not going to be what you're looking at, then I don't see the need to leave one exposed that could potentially come in handy throughout 2025. That's just my thought. But going back to Luis Abram and Tiare, Abram, I think we've mentioned it several times. He makes way too much for his role.
100%.
And, that's a contract that is difficult to get rid of. But if you can leave him exposed and potentially, potentially San Diego decides, hey, let's take Luis Abram. They can renegotiate his contract. They don't have to take the contract that he's on with Atlanta United, by the way.
Yeah.
So if they want to take him and get him on a lower salary or something like that, sure, then that could work. What else was I going to say? Because he's a backup here anyways. So he's behind Derek Williams. He's behind, Gregerson, Cobb. Like, I think he would probably want time elsewhere. And I could see that happening. I could see that happening in San Diego potentially. It all depends on what San Diego wants to build. And we do have a buyout for this offseason. I just don't know where that is going to be used yet. There is some money from Derek Etienne that you could potentially use that on. There are other candidates within the roster.
Yeah.
If you can't get Abram out.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like you wait till the expansion draft's over, see, if you don't want to protect them, right? See what's available as well, right? If you can't move on from someone, hold on to it. I mean, there hasn't been any more talks of an extra buyout spot like that was last year, and we haven't heard it being renewed. At least I know they said they were going to start having that conversation again about possibly adding a second one here. But we're, this is one of the rare times where we're just not in that situation. And like, I'm fine with the expansion draft being this year. And I mean, I'd be kind of ecstatic if they did take someone this year from us, because there's been other years where it's like, oh my gosh, who do we keep? Who are we going to lose? Right? Like we don't want to lose anybody. But this is, one of those situations where you're in a transition period. So I think with Garth and whoever's he brings on, it's a good period to like, hey, what if we can just get rid of this guy, for nothing, right? Like just to clear his contract out and move on. Cool. If not, it was brought up in the chat, they have a buyout spot. They can do that. Or like Henry said, they could buy out the rest of Derek's contract. Um,
At the
I mean,
end.
yeah. I mean, you've got quite a few options that you're going to be able to do here. It's a good situation really to be into in this year, right? Because sure, San Diego, we'll give you the guys that were just kind of on borderline for us, and you can take those if you want. If not, then we'll wait for the next team. And I don't think they're talking about expanding for a little bit, right? I think they said
Yeah.
it's going to be a little bit of a break now, right?
Yeah.
And so
Eventually,
Vegas gets one.
Garber was to get to 32. So I don't see that happening until after 2026 or thereabouts. I do want to throw in a couple of things real quick about players we've mentioned already. Abram, there have been some reports, some rumors saying that Alianza Lima are interested in bringing him in. Abram say, I'm comfortable in MLS. I love it in Atlanta. So there's definitely interest for him, it sounds like. So we'll see what comes of that. And then TRA looks like he is on his way out. It looks like he did pin a goodbye on social media to fans. So Atlanta do need to protect him, I believe, since he is, even though his contract ends in 2024, he is still considered, for all intents and purposes, under club control. So
Protect
they would
TRA?
need to protect them. Yes, I
They don't
believe so.
have to protect him.
Could be wrong.
No.
Is that
They don't have to protect him, but
You
they
don't have
could,
to
right?
protect them. They're part of the roster, but you can leave them unprotected.
Right.
That just means that they could be selected by San Diego. But
Right. I think I said.
After those TikTok videos, I don't think anybody's picking.
Yeah,
him up.
there's a lot of rumors around.
there's no sense in using, in
TRA.
my opinion, there's no sense in using one of your 12 protected slots on a player that's out of contract and has already said his goodbyes, which means even though they said they're still negotiating with him, I don't think that's going to go anywhere.
No, I agree. I'm just saying for administrative purposes, he's still considered part of the roster. But yeah, I don't think they protect him.
Yeah,
So,
you can go a different way here.
Yeah.
And who knows if, those rumors that started popping up around Thanksgiving about him is going to hurt or, I mean, it's definitely not going to help his situation, but I don't know if it's going to hurt or not from there. In my opinion, I think they should go somewhere different than TRA, but I think one of the reasons why maybe you don't, let's just say, is because you do have a lot to replace, right? You have a lot of different spots and a lot of players you've got to bring in this offseason. So, while it'd be great to just, go back to the EFC reference and just be able to sign everyone real quick, that's not how the world works, right? So, maybe for convenience, maybe you do keep one of these players for an extra year that maybe you wouldn't have in a normal offseason, but because you have so much to replace at this exact moment, that maybe you hold on a little bit longer onto some of these guys. Jonathan's asked us a few times in here. He wasn't picked up, right?
Jonathan, so Efrain Morales, he was picked up.
Oh, he was, okay.
However, he is a homegrown, so
they don't need to protect him.
not need to protect them. You don't need to protect homegrowns, Generation Adidas players. So that's why we didn't have like Noah Cobb on our list. We didn't have Luke Brennan. We didn't have any of those guys. We didn't have Jay Fortune because they're all homegrowns, and so they're automatically protected. You don't have to include them in your 12.
Thanks,
Right.
intern Jonathan. Former intern asking current former intern telling current intern on how things work.
And by the way, I'll throw this out there too. Jaden Hibbert, I'll throw this out there too on Jaden Hibbert. He does not need to be protected because I believe he is considered not a part of the roster. He was signed to Atlanta United in 2024. He'll be part of the Atlanta United roster in 2025. So I think that's how that works. But
Same
at
with,
the end of the day,
same with Aiden Torres.
Same with Aiden Torres. So
who's a homegrown anyways.
Right. Yeah. So I guess that's where we stand. Any other thoughts about the lists that you want to throw out there?
No, I think this is just it's an easy one, right? Like I don't think there's, there's a couple small changes in both your lists. as someone that didn't write a list, I could say that, with both of them, they're both like, there's nothing controversial. And I don't think there's really a list that anybody can give us that would be too controversial right here. The list of like players that make sense to do it, right? I think Mayumba is maybe if there's close to one with him because he came in with such hype, right? I mean, we saw him come in those like first like 3-4 games. You're like, our midfield is saved, right? Nagby, this is the first guy that's come in since Nagby, and it's beautiful. And then things started trending down for him extremely quickly. My hope here is that whoever comes in gets more out of him, right? Because I mean, they obviously saw something in him when they brought him in, and we obviously saw something when he came in. And I think that's, I mean, we talked about before, but there's been a lot of talk about, that when players came in with Pineda, they came in great and they came out months later bad. Maybe there's someone that comes in and gets these guys playing to their potential here. You don't know. You'd like to see it because we've seen it, right? But there's going to be some teams out there for sure that are stressing out about this. The Columbus Crew have a lot of talent on there. They have a lot of depth out there. Wouldn't be shocked if a player from them gets taken there. I mean, there's quite a few teams there that have done things the right way and been able to bring players in, fit them all in the cap, right? Do all the cap magic that they were able to. But when the expansion draft bell rings, right, you got to pay. And there's a very good chance that they're going to lose someone good. And we've been through that before, and we know what happens. And this time I'm going to sit back and watch it. Well, let's face it, I'm not going to watch it. I'll just read what happens on it. I remember, I think it was the Charlotte one I watched. I think it was the expansion draft. And I thought it was really cool because they did it at the stadium. And like
What's
they
that,
had some
St.
of the.
Louis?
Was it that? I don't remember. And I think it was. I think they might have done it for both. I think I do remember one for Charlotte because I remember their fans. I remember seeing the back of the Panther Stadium for some reason. But like it was cool that they were doing that. Like they invited like the supporter groups in there to do it. I mean, who else would show up to a MLS Expansion Draft thing? But I mean, it was cool to see here. But yeah, I mean, this is great. We can mostly sit back and be like, yeah, we're not going to lose anyone important here.
Maybe Miami forgets to protect Messi. You never know.
Maybe they don't file the right paperwork. Like right. I've seen that happen throughout the years. Like somebody tried to I remember a while back. This just stupid story. There was back like emails and all that. There was something that you had to do to send out contracts in the NHL, and an NHL team screwed up. And they instead of faxing it, they mailed it. They overnighted it. However, free agency starts on Canada Day, and there's no mail on Canada Day, and the thing didn't get sent. And all their free agents that were restricted free agents became unrestricted free agents. And so now you could pay them a minimum when they're restricted. And he did. He definitely got fired. But there was mistakes like that. So it's MLS. There's always ridiculousness. So Miami, just turn your fax machine off. You don't have to send anything. And
just let the intern do it.
Yeah.
If you want to hire Jonathan for one day, for Jonathan to do all your paperwork, I'm sure he won't screw anything up, but we'll see.
Remember your training, Jonathan.
Right.
The zero training that you had. Just remember.
Exactly.
Yeah. What else do we have? I mean, again, pretty slow week, as it were. Expansion draft next week. Free agency opens next week. Half-day trade window opens on Monday, or it occurs on Monday. And now we just kind of sit and wait, right? Wait for more news, more rumors.
We'll have more to talk about next week, where I think we should go over some of the free agents that we think will potentially be beneficial for Atlanta United. Potentially they could be targeted.
Ideas.
You love this name, man.
Maybe we'll talk about them.
A couple times.
But the eligible list for free agents, it comes out the 10th, which I believe is next Tuesday. So, yeah, at that point, we'll know who's who for which teams. There's already a few I have my eyes on, and I'll bring those to our show next week. But, yeah, there are several interesting names out there. yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's quite a few that are already. I'm like, this guy could be good at Atlanta. Like they could use this in these positions. So yeah, we'll see how active Atlanta United is in the free agent market. But again, like I personally don't expect them to be too active player wise until they have their GM and head coach installed, particularly the GM.
Yeah.
Well, that's my question I'm going to ask you, because I think someone asked up there in the chat was, do you think that something gets announced before MLS Cup or right immediately after MLS Cup? Do you think? So let's just say this: by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. do we have either one? I think they both come in together. I think that because they've already, like Garth has already talked about, like that they want to come in, they want to meet each other. Do you think it's announced by Sunday at 11:59 p.m.?
No chance.
What about Monday at 10 a.m.?
I wouldn't count on it. What's Monday? Monday's the 9th. I think that's a little early.
Right.
Garth gave us the time frame of before Christmas. Now that could mean Christmas Eve the 24th.
The season starts. Preseason starts a week after, Garth. I know you're new to MLS, bro, but no, you don't bring these people in a week before the. This is what's upsetting me. This is why I did not want to make the playoffs. This is why I did not want to make the playoffs.
I think it'll be before
Philadelphia
Christmas.
already announced
I think it'll be
theirs,
before
right?
Christmas Eve.
Before Christmas Eve.
Report it.
Everybody's spending time with family. They got to spend the whole week after figuring things out. No.
Chill out, man.
I did not want to make the playoffs.
Give me next week.
Look,
next week.
It could be next week.
He's telling me are we gonna get it before the ball drops?
But he said before Christmas. Like I said, that could mean any time between like now and 24th of December. Like I don't think it's going to be all the way up to 24th of December. I would say the safest bet is it's either announced mid next week, or maybe mid the week after, which would be probably the 17th, 18th. I think that would probably be the latest. I don't think they want to wait anymore because, like you said, the off season, time's a ticking. And preseason training begins in January. So the second
week, I think.
Yeah. So you want to have your roster as constructed as possible by then, because we know how important preseason training is. We know how important it is for them to be there. And, green card watch is something that we're also looking at, making sure everyone has their visas in line. So I don't think that they're going to wait too much longer to announce those two positions, but I definitely don't think it's going to be done by MLS Cup. I think the earliest potentially you'll see an announcement maybe Wednesday, like in a week, next Wednesday.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
And I think for the record, I think that they already know who it is at this point. I think the decision is made. It is just speculation, no reporting, just pure speculation. But I think the decision's already made. They're just filling out the paperwork, getting all the official business done, and then the announcement is done. Yeah. And the announcement is done after that. But, Garth said the decision would probably be done this week, and the announcement, I know he said before Christmas, but I think that's just to give them time in case, the paperwork takes a little bit longer than expected. I think we hear something potentially next week.
Yeah, I agree.
Guys, you can't go to the company Christmas party if you're not announced. Okay, so if Henderson and Curtin or whoever wants to go to the Christmas party, you have to be announced to the fan base, right? Because then they got to just wear like paper bags over their head at the party, right? And then they're got to be drinking or eating food through the bags because they'll get spoiled, right? Someone's going to take a picture at the Atlanta United Christmas party, and then we're going to find out about it.
Now, I will drop this little tidbit, which you can do what you want with it. But I was attending the press conference for Javier Mascherano, the new Inter Miami head coach, his introductory press conference, and Chris Henderson was not there.
I mean, he's posted like multiple goodbyes from Miami, and he did it like immediately after Atlanta United. He made a post like immediately after Atlanta United got booted from Orlando. Coincidence? I'm not sure, but I mean, that was a rumor that we talked about here for a little bit. But I mean, if Garth isn't a selfish man, he needs to make us all feel a little bit better about this offseason and just announce it already. Look, don't play games with us, Garth. We need to know something here. We know he watches. He's still on. We're an hour and 4 minutes in. He usually joins 10 minutes late. So that's why we don't talk about important things. But Garth, we need to just know what is going on at this point here, so that when you make these expansion decisions, right, we don't blame Garth for it. We blame Henderson for it, right? If something bad happens, Garth doesn't want to take credit for
Chris
it, right?
out.
Right. We get rid of Miumba, and then all of a sudden he goes to San Diego, and he's like the best player in the world. We can blame Henderson for it, Garth. So
Yeah.
just you got until about 11:59.
Drop me a text, Garth.
Yeah.
I'll leak it for you.
Yeah.
Henry, are you older than the new Miami coach?
Wait, what?
The new Miami coach? Like, isn't he super young?
Masha, I know he's 40.
He is?
Yes.
Oh, you know what? I watch the battered herons on usually like 3 or 4
Probably
Emmys, but
younger than 21.
Really quickly.
maybe he just didn't have a ton of experience. Maybe that's what they were talking about.
I mean,
Yeah.
because I think the criticism was that he'd only managed, the Argentina youth squads, but
Yeah.
dude's 40. He's a legendary player, man.
Not younger than
He's old.
Henry.
He's younger than me.
Not younger than
Okay,
Henry.
they were talking about experience. All right, don't look. When I'm watching battered herons, it's usually I'm pretty deep into the night.
Yeah.
So, hi Danny, hi Chris.
Are they in the chat?
No, they're actually at Mercedes-Benz Stadium watching this with Garth Lagerway on the Halo board. So
Cool.
yeah, that's what they do. That's what everyone does when they watch us. They just
They
go.
go to
We're Scarves and Spikes
Mercedes-Benz?
on the Halo board.
Absolutely.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, but yeah, we should everyone thank you, for all of you that have shown up. We know there's not a lot going on right now, but it should be, right? Things should be coming in quick, right? 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, before the clock hits, we should know everything, because that's what Sydney said. 11:59 p.m. and Henry confirmed it. So just keep an eye out for that.
Summer 23rd.
I didn't watch MLS. I didn't watch MLS Monday, but real quick, what are you guys' predictions for MLS Cup?
I said 2-1. I said 2-1 Galaxy.
2-0 Galaxy.
2-0, huh?
Yes. What do you think? What do you say?
Well, Henry, I thought you said, I thought maybe it was. I saw the comment from MLS Monday. Did Tyler say 3-1?
He said 3-1 Galaxy. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, he got ripped apart in a comment on there about it.
Yeah, I saw that.
I love
What's
going
your
to the
prediction?
comments day later. I say it's going to be 2-1 Galaxy. I think it's fast, but I was actually thinking 3-1, but I didn't want to get bullied after that, because my response back was it was 2-1 in Leagues Cup, but then obviously LAFC was going for it, quick counter, and now it's 3-1 and it's over. I could definitely see something like that where it's a very close game, but when you look at the actual score, it's not actually close, right? I could definitely see that happening. Obviously it's sad with the injury with the Galaxy, but I still think that they're able to pull through. And I said it last week and I'll say it again. The Galaxy were a crappy team last year, and they made all the right moves throughout this season, right? Afterwards, they had resources. They used the resources, correctly, right? They used it wisely, and they went all, they basically should have been the number 1 seed in the West until they blew it. I mean, that's what we all are hoping for, right? The exact type of offseason that the Galaxy had. And if you can do that, you're going to make the fans pretty happy, and these podcasts will be more happy, and we won't just be like, I can't talk about this team anymore, and it's already June, right? We want to be talking about happiness all the way throughout the year. So
Exactly.
if you look at the Galaxy, that's the game plan of what we're hoping for this season.
Exactly. Just be the Galaxy. Be
The
it
Galaxy of the
2025.
Yeah, and they didn't go back. They could have did the thing where they did the Miami World and just got a bunch of old dudes, right?
But then you got Royce, but
yeah, but
That's
still
one
they
guy.
that's
right.
true.
But still they went out there and they got some young good players, right? Maybe some names that aren't known to everyone, but they did real well here. So
And Royce isn't even starting. He's behind Ricky Puig on the depth chart.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me, because they have just such an amazing attack. The front four is crazy. And
that's what we hope for.
It's unfortunate that Ricky Puig just won't be at MLS Cup, because dude's so much fun to watch.
He really is.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it.
Yeah, man.
ScarvesandSpecks.com. Check that out. Check us out on social, X, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. Blue Sky, Scars and Spikes. You know where to find us. Link to the stores on scarsandspikes.com. And again, if you're watching off YouTube, like, subscribe, share our content. It helps us out a lot as we try to give you the best.
Hit
And
like on the video.
Yes.
Hit like on the video. Share it.
Yes.
I already said this, but if you didn't go to your grandparents' house or your parents' house, for Thanksgiving, Christmas is coming up. When you do, log on to your parents' computer. You know the password. You got into it a long time ago, and just click subscribe and like all of our videos. Just go like those regrets that you see on people when they like all the comments after they were drinking for a long time. Just go to your parents' thing and like every single one of our videos on there. We won't judge your parents for liking all our videos.
Hack into the Pentagon. I'm just kidding.
No, don't do that. Yeah, don't do that. We don't want you to go to federal prison.
I think it'd be pretty sweet if they did, and then liked all Scarves and Spikes from the Pentagon. So
Yeah.
with that, hit the music. We're just rambling at this point, right?
Yeah.
We never ramble.
Roll credits.
There's always that time of the night where it's like, just shut up, Tommy. Just hit the music. You go see in Sydney's eyes, like Sydney, like would just be like, all right, guys. Well, anything else? Anything else? Anything else? Anything else? Tommy, I said anything else. Could you just shut up? Like my wife makes that face every single night. Is there anything else? Can I just go to sleep and leave me alone? Yes, Tina, go to bed. I'm done ranting.
Are you though?
11:59 p.m. on Sunday. If it is not announced, there is not smoke that's coming out of the hole of Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
11:59, bro.
Dude, there's gonna be white smoke coming out of there, right? Is that what the smoke that comes out for the boat?
They need to post that on social. Just white smoke coming out of the.
Is it white smoke that comes out for the boat?
White smoke.
Okay, good. I saw Eurotrip, so I know how it works. So when the hole opens at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and I didn't mean to make that sound dirty, but when the hole opens and white smoke comes out, you know that Henderson is there, and the question is it a curtain or is it someone else? And who's behind that curtain? It could be Jim, it could be Oz. Just end this now because I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah, for real.
Have a good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.
If anybody's still listening, if not, I apologize.
Jeez, I hope not.